Hello, soulmates, and welcome to the Candid Conversations TV show with DocV. I'm Dr. Virginia LeBlanc-Shazad, affectionately Doc V, the Pivot Maestro, here to help you navigate the waters of your life and put you back in business as we rise together through truth, transparency, and love, which is our focus and our heart here. I am your corner woman right here on CCTV, helping you face and embrace your fears to love the skin you're in, while lifting you into a possibility mindset to serve, profit, and sustain in life and business. Candid Conversations is where real talk about real experiences, personal journeys, and life business circumstances intersect. Truth and real talk is the norm without exception to help you heal, rebuild, and transform your life and business from the inside out to put you back into business. What is our why, our motivation for this show? Well, of course, you are. You are and your rise. All are welcome to the Candid Conversations. It is our intention to always take you on a journey of revelation, reconciliation, and renaissance to help you define your own path. Our message: you are mission essential. For those of you who have been following us, I am so excited about a completely new format and flow that we hope you will also love and engage with right here on YouTube. It's a continuation of our podcast, Define Your Path with Doc V, and an unpacking, if you will, of our spotlight guests, who we only have on the podcast for about 25-30 minutes, and that is not enough time if you have been listening. It goes so quickly, and when you're having fun and speaking your truth on the podcast. So we wanted to invite our guests into this space for you to get to know them better and get to know us better in a free flow conversation. So we're going to have girl talk. You never know what you might get, but I guarantee it will always be light, love, and life for your soul. Just as our parent entity, Defining Paths International, we operate in true transparency and love for you. And Candid Conversations TV is an extension of that mission. So, guys, I am so happy that we are bringing back Define Your Path podcast spotlight guest, Kathryn Malek. So, Kathryn, welcome back and welcome to Candid Conversations TV.
Oh, thank you so much, Doc B. I'm so excited for this conversation. I know we were both, as soon as we finished the podcast, we were like, oh, we need to talk more.
Absolutely, absolutely. And life happens. So I am so happy that we finally, our schedules meshed and we are here. So, audience, let me remind you a bit about, I'm tongue twisted today, girl. So let me remind you to go back and watch that episode with Kathryn or listen to your favorite podcast platform. It's fire, it's powerful. And go check it out on Define Your Path podcast. Let me remind you who Kathryn is, what she does. Kathryn, she's a SOLignment, SOLignment breath process and SOLignment embodiment process facilitator. She's a shaman and an author who guides high-performing leaders to their infinite level of who they are, to living a life of liberation. I love that. Authentically aligned, deeply empowered, and free to be who they truly are. So, Kathryn, I just want to start by unpacking even some of that, right? Because a lot of people are so unaware, and that's no judgment, at all, because we've been just kind of placed on paths in life, right? Through our educational system, social-cultural, and to when you really don't start to come across these sorts of kind of freedom releases or concepts until you kind of have that revelation or aha in life, or you hit that brick wall and you're looking for anything and everything different from where you are. So can we talk a little bit just about your SOLignment breath process and embodiment process and just how all of that came to be again?
Oh, absolutely. It came from my own journey, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly what you're sharing about when we hit that wall, when there's this feeling inside that it's uncomfortable with all the comfortableness that we've created in our lives. You know how
Yes,
we've created comfortable lives. We've done the things, we've checked the boxes.
yes.
School, marriage, children, career, like everything. And usually following in the way that we've been told or sort of
Yes.
coerced into.
Mm-hmm.
We've been told we're really good at something. And
Yeah.
it was wonderful. We have many gifts, But what if it's not the thing that lights you up? What if it's not your real path?
Hmm.
Then becomes this frustration. And
Yes.
for myself, that was definitely a part of my life. The frustration at not being exactly aligned. I
Hmm.
had a career in the arts, which is fabulous. Talk about freedom and doing
Yes.
something that most people are taught not to do. Most
Right.
parents will say, do not go into the arts.
You can't make a living at it, all that good stuff. Yep.
All the messages around that. And
Mhm.
yeah, it was fulfilling up to a certain point. But
Yeah.
just like everyone in the world, there's programming, I like to call it codes inside each one of us that
Hmm.
are in the subconscious that are running our lives for us. So
Hmm.
even if in the outer world we are choosing things that are more fulfilling for us, but
Yeah.
there's these inner codes that are pulling us back, really putting chains, almost like being in a cage
Yes.
and
Hmm.
not knowing because it's invisible.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and so for me, I went traveling across the world, meeting all sorts of coaches and healers and shamans,
Yeah.
and looking for this mecca of healing. I was looking for the golden key, and I would get little pieces of it. And
Hmm.
every few years, I would say, something's not right. I feel this fear inside, and there's something else. And I would then get the response, it's all in your mind.
Hmm.
Everything you have, you need. And I would walk away frustrated and still trying to figure out what they're saying. What is this thing in my mind that I haven't captured yet?
Right. Right.
And this went on for quite a few years.
Were you getting that from people too?
Not from people, it was from coaches. And
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
for people, let's say like friends, it
Yeah.
would be, oh, you're doing everything great, don't worry, chin up, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in this type of a situation, that does not work. The
Hmm.
cliches will not do the
Right.
work. And so my soul, my intuition, my wisdom knew there was something more, but I
Yeah.
just hadn't found it.
Yes.
And when I finally encountered this alignment, which is somatic alignment, breath
Yeah.
process and embodiment process, that was the key to the spiritual kingdom of healing for me. And
Mm.
not to say that all the other work wasn't wonderful, it was everything that I had done to melt some of the layers.
Yes.
But to get to the core, to get to the essence of everything, that
Hmm.
was alignment. To really get into the subconscious, to heal, to process, to release
Mm.
all those layers. That's what did it.
Wow. Wow. So you weren't necessarily going through like health challenges, quote unquote, but there was just a voice inside. Because a lot of people, as I was saying, they don't find themselves kind of taking this journey or having these revelations, these ahas, until something physically ails in their body or they hit that type of wall. But it was like literally you had this voice, this intuition, your soul was trying to speak to you and guide you, but this matrix kept holding you, was trying to hold on to you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I did sort of hit health
Mhm.
ailments, but not in the rock bottom kind of way. There was
Yes.
a point in time when I was just running between auditions and shows and every
Mm.
gig you could think of. And it got to a point where I went to a traditional Chinese medicine doctor, and she was
Mhm.
very stern with me. And to this day, I am grateful that she was so, what I considered mean with me.
Yeah.
But she just said, too much, stop it. And she was very, like, almost yelling at me. But
Yes.
she took a look at me and she could tell I was run down.
Wow.
That was a bit of a wake up there. But again, um, through acupuncture, which was helping to calm the nervous system. So that was
Yes.
putting me on that path. And so I could understand that
Mm.
it was nervous system and subconscious patterning. When I look back now, that's the direction I was heading into. That's what I was really seeking. If I could have had the words back then, or even years ago, if I knew that I was speaking about my nervous system and my
Yes.
subconscious programming, then
Yeah.
it might have been a little easier, to
Yes.
find the right person or if they existed at that time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I'm just thinking back to, as I shared before, in another life, I was on that performing artist track, opera and classical singer. And I think about just even some of the tension or stress that I had in my body for so many different reasons, and in feeling or having like identity crises or imposter syndrome or life happening, and all of those other soul hurts that were compounding, that I had no idea. It actually manifested in me with this severe um, tongue tension, and to where like literally, and it affected my vibrato and just, my singing ability, because it internalized literally in that part of my body and the singing mechanism to, and I had no idea what was happening. It wasn't until I started getting a bit of a clue. I went started seeing a holistic chiropractor who also dabbled in Eastern practices and what have you. And I started taking supplements to try and help relax that part of the body. It helped a bit, but that's when I started being conscious that it was more than, it wasn't anything wrong with me, or my gift, or my talent, but there was definitely something wrong with something happening within my soul.
Absolutely. The body keeps track of everything. You know,
Yeah.
the emotions, the unprocessed emotions, the grief, whatever it is we're going through, trapped
Yes.
in the body, which is, bravo to our bodies, because there are times when we're experiencing something that it's so overwhelming, we cannot handle it. So it's
Yes.
almost like we push it down and we're just able to get through it. From a
Mhm.
shamanic perspective, it's a soul part will maybe jump out because
Mhm.
it's just too much, right?
Yeah.
And so it's self-preservation, really. However, if we are going through life and we have all this trauma layered up, emotions that have not been processed, well, where are they? They're all stuck in the body.
In the
So it
body.
makes sense when you're saying about your tongue,
Yeah.
and having that tension. For many, many incredible beings, illnesses, ailments, things like
Hmm.
autoimmune, all of that look into the body. You know, with our Western medicine, I feel that we kind of look at what's going on and we just try to smother it with something. But
Yes.
I feel
Band-Aid. Yeah.
there's, yeah, and there's so
Mhm.
much more one can do. And if we really look holistically and we
Yeah.
start looking at the body, the nervous system, start right there. How
Yeah.
many of us were walking the earth, and maybe some are walking still with such dysregulation and not knowing, innocently, not even knowing, because where are we taught this?
Yes. Yes, and I think you're being very generous with, some, but yeah, I think most of us, because it's the path that we're put on, unless, I mean, you just, I guess, extremely extraordinary circumstances of people who may be able to avoid that. But yeah, when you look at all of the health issues and just the conditions and even just the conflict in the world,
Mhm.
it's just hurt and torn souls, I would say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's, the inner war inside when there's
Yeah.
so much stress and so much that everyone just buries inside so
Hmm.
that we can be outward focused, so we can
Yeah.
perform, so we can do whatever it is we need to do. And there's this disconnect from the body. And I
Yeah.
know me, even though, in the arts, just like yourself,
Hmm.
and I danced ballet almost my whole life. And yet there was still a disconnection. As much as I was connected to the body, there was an energy of lifted off. And that was fear. That was a lot of fear. It was the way I navigated the world, being empathic, being intuitive, being a sensitive. And
Yes.
so because of that, it's almost like I disassociated just to survive being in the world.
Oh my gosh, girl. I mean, like, I literally have goosebumps over here because I can so relate to that. There was a point in time where I almost walked away from now life happened and I eventually did, step away from pursuing that career. But, I love what you said about disassociation because I think inherently also, when you're a performer, it's almost a mask that we wear also that help that is like the perfect storm for disassociation. We would say all the time about it's the willing suspension of disbelief.
Hmm.
And now that I'm sitting here and thinking about that and unpacking it and in this conversation, I don't know that that was a healthy thing.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I spent all these years, and now there was some goodness that came out of it, out of this
Yeah.
performing, of course.
Right.
But playing, different characters and what you're saying, the mask.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely was at a point where I'm like, which mask am I?
Yes.
Not knowing who I really was, yet I did.
Yes.
Once I stepped away and
Mm-hmm.
really took that quiet time to really just be, to have stillness, to not be in running all the time, to running in fear and being so disconnected.
Right. Right.
And it felt so good. That's all I remember about that is that when I stopped, being in the arts as a performer, one is running constantly to auditions, and there's these late night, you get these phone calls, and then you need to prepare. You're up in the middle of the night, and then you're off again running. And there is something about my life now without that that is beautiful.
It's peaceful. It's freedom. Really, those chains that you were talking about, it's like there are no more chains, you know.
Exactly.
And I think, just the whole practice or just the very nature also of performance, whether it's in the arts or it's on the field or, what have you, athletes even,
Yeah.
it's this constant fear of not being good enough or performing to their highest standards or the fear of critics or, just whatever, because the competition, I think inherently, that's where I wanted to go with that. I think competition inherently it inbreeds fear, and instead of viewing things as more of a collaboration. um yeah, I don't know, what do you think about that, because that just popped into my head as I'm processing all of this.
The worthiness comes to mind right now when you're sharing that. As a performer, I
Hmm.
definitely remember going into rooms to present, to audition, and not just myself, I felt it in the waiting rooms too. So much fear, so much anxiety, and not being worthy. Uh,
Yeah.
at the beginning of it all, I remember this feeling of, please like me. Like the
Yes.
energy that I was sending out, like it's like,
Gosh,
oh my
yeah.
goodness, as opposed to one being whole, being connected within to be, here I am, let's play, right?
Right.
Different energy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I feel there's a lot of the truth. I mean, many people will say, and my family included, I'm the only one in the family that was in the arts, and they would often say how confident actors are. And I would say to them, nope, nope, higher
You didn't have
insecurity
to
than you
perform.
just know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But there was a performance of that.
Yes,
And then
yes.
there's also putting on the mask of playing something else. I mean, yes, it's connected to you, but for me, it was definitely
Yeah, yeah,
hiding behind whatever role it was. Like,
yeah,
because even though I was channeling, myself in it, but
yeah.
it with the guise of, oh, it's not me, it's this character.
Yes. Yeah, no, that is so good and so true. I, I'm just having all kinds of things. Don't be stirring up any PTSD now. No, just kidding.
I understand. No, yeah, well, I hear you on that. And I have beautiful memories of different shows and people that I
Mhm.
got to meet. And I also have the other kind of memories too. As we
Oh,
know, the arts can attract a lot of interesting people, we'll put it that way, that are
Yes.
not in integrity. So
True.
there's both sides to it. And I do feel blessed to have experienced it. And now
Mhm.
to just cheer on friends who are, if that's in their heart to do that, that's lighting
Yeah.
the flame. Wonderful. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, could not agree more. And I think also people who do have those giftings and skills and what have you, once they do wake up, have that revelation and they start to kind of they can reconcile life a little bit quicker and better. They can pivot quicker, if you will.
Yeah.
So what I realized with myself as, life kept happening and I kept having to pivot and think about my transferable skills and capabilities and all that, I was very much, I could pick up anything just like that, because we're trained in so many different ways and the left and the right brain and so I would imagine coming into or could that be also a reason why you think maybe performers would be more sensitive to like SOLignment or just the whole embodiment once they become familiar with it or introduced to it, or am I totally off there?
It could be. It's really a case by case
Yeah.
basis. Um,
Hmm.
I know that with the breath process, it takes one into a deep, relaxed state. Not even,
Mm.
when we talk about yoga and we're in Shavasana at the end and that's deeply relaxing. Well, think
Hmm.
about way deeper than that. And
Okay.
so when one experiences that, it's incredible. Now,
Hmm.
actors who have been using voice and body,
Hmm.
absolutely. They may take to it like a duck to water, of course, but it
Hmm.
is individual. How
Hmm.
much trauma has one experienced?
Mm.
How layered up is one? It
Gotcha.
may take a little bit, to, if there's a lot of fear, you know,
Hmm.
uh, because one thing that it does do, the breath process, going into deep relaxation, is it brings one to a place of safe in the body.
Hmm.
And for many, and when I say that, I mean all people, how many
Yeah.
people feel authentically safe in the body, not in your mind, like, oh, I'm
Right.
safe. Mm,
Right.
like in the body, like deeply safe.
Right. Right. Well, I
So,
don't even we talk think about that.
hmm hmm
Yeah.
it's not something that, we were taught in life,
Yeah.
where no one really is raised, unless you're in a family that's like holistic and into
Mhm.
healing somatically, you're
Mhm.
not going to be told that. And I know for myself, that was such a huge key of healing for
Mhm.
myself. As much as I'd already been working as a healer and shaman, but that final piece where I just dropped into such a safe, solid ground inside,
Mhm.
it's blissful to be
Yeah.
able to walk through the world with that safety inside.
Yes.
And there's only so many words that describe it, but
Yeah.
when one feels that for themselves,
Yes.
incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine it's kind of like what I kind of go back to my spiritual upbringing through organized religion, which where it talks about a peace that transcends all understanding. I imagine that's the feeling that you get when you kind of get to that space and place that you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Like you don't,
Absolutely.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Like, yeah, I was just going to say it. Yeah, exactly what you're saying. Transcends is the greatest way to describe it, because when we're sharing about the body and about healing within, uh,
Hmm.
there are only so many words one can share from
Yeah.
themselves to what it feels like. But
Yeah.
until you feel it for yourself,
Yeah.
that is like, there's nothing better for
Yeah.
me working with clients, and just to see them so lit up. And the way it gets described time and time again, I feel free. I feel like myself. I feel like I can do anything now.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like it's that Renaissance piece. Like you're seeing yourself for, it's still the same you, but it's a different take, it's a different feel, it's a different look even. Yeah.
Absolutely. And how that transfers into one's life. Think about how deeply one would sleep if they
Mm,
felt safe and deeply
yes.
relaxed. Their body isn't in flight or fight all the time. There
Yes.
are many, many beings walking around the world not even knowing, because it's the constant.
Hmm.
Once that stress button gets turned on, it doesn't know to turn off. So it just
Yeah.
keeps going. So even if whatever the stressor was has disappeared, one is still, the engine is still revving.
Mm,
Right. So imagine, how many people are not having deep rest, deep sleep.
right.
But when the nervous system is regulated, there's safety inside. How
Yeah.
well you sleep. Imagine how your relationships will be and how conscious you will be in your relationships. When
Yes.
one is not rested and one is not connected to their body, just think about in an average day how one can be very irritated from little things.
Mm-hmm.
And that can really affect, at work, at home,
Mm-hmm.
in the world, and it
Yeah.
changes everything.
Yeah, no, totally. Because it kind of, I think I was sharing a little bit on the outside of just like this morning, that was kind of like my state. It's like you wake up, you're peaceful, I had a good night's rest, but then things start happening and, and you have those triggers that happen
Yeah.
that just kind of create this spiral. And unless you have the awareness, I guess the knowledge, skills, ability to pull yourself back or laugh it off, or turn the conversation around in your being, just you could be on an emotional roller coaster for hours, days, or what have you, and you don't even know where it's stemming from. But if you would have just had that ability to control it or maintain that piece of calm, you know, it's a whole different life. It's a whole different world. And I've noticed even in my body is healing literally from the inside out. I have that conversation all the time. And, it's that inside out that is so important in life in general, but we don't spend enough time talking about it, much less experiencing it or practicing it.
Absolutely. We've been so trained to get the outside success. Everything is outside. And even if it's not worded in that way, it's almost like we view it that way. It's
Yeah.
like almost we've taken it in from all of the beings around us. And we understand, the definition of success is whatever those around us have taught us. And
Yeah.
often it's outside of the self.
Yeah.
Difference. And I
Yeah.
also feel that we're in a time when many people are trying to figure it out on their own. So
Mhm.
there isn't connection and there isn't support.
Yes. I love that you brought that up because I think also when people start asking questions or start looking in those sorts of directions, particularly if they're coming from religious backgrounds, there are certain thoughts or beliefs around seeking outside of what you've been trained or taught to think or what have you. It's that boxed in thinking, as opposed to if you're truly connecting with and operating it from the spirit with the spirit, from a spiritual standpoint, you know, all of that wisdom and knowledge, it allows you, I think, to access and have these revelations and understandings and start to ask or seek out, these mysteries, right, of the world, of the universe, and how what our place is in it and how we fit into it and what is the ebb and flow, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, when one starts questioning everything and
Yes.
having, that support, the right support,
Yes.
those that can support that. Imagine if one starts questioning and if they're surrounded by others who are not questioning, they
Hmm.
could turn it back to the beautiful soul and say, well, you're crazy. What are you talking about?
Yes.
So having those that have walked the path who would be like, absolutely, I understand what you're speaking about.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's so powerful. And how much healing could we ignite not only in ourselves, but, when we start getting ourselves right, then we can extend that. And it's almost like a chain reaction or a domino effect, if you will.
Yeah, I love that. I always say the domino effect.
Yeah.
As one person heals, goes
Hmm.
through, rifling through the Rolodex inside of whatever trauma, emotions, whatever it is.
Yes.
I always feel that as one walks through the world, without
Yeah.
even having to speak, there is healing happening just from that
Yeah.
opening of energy.
That is so good. It's so funny. And this is like, I don't know why this popped into my head, but when my husband and I tend to go places, right? Like there could be absolutely no one in the place that we go into. And as soon as we go in there, like not even 5 minutes later, it's like the place starts filling up. It's like, my husband, he's so funny. He was like, let's go bless a business today. Or, by bringing it's funny. But is that like, kind of the energy flow or the soul attractions or that happen, and we don't, when we're not consciously aware of or even thinking or seeing or processing this because we're just so busy being cogs in a wheel or just marching to the crazy beat that these constructs have created. We're not even aware of just those beautiful things happening or in and around us, I would say.
Oh, absolutely. There is a thing about when one's energy is radiant and when
Hmm.
they're really embodied, it's attractive, you know. And it's not even that people, some are conscious of it, some are not even conscious, but they're drawn into it.
Yeah.
Think about that, just like you're saying about going into a restaurant and it's empty and then all of a sudden it fills up.
Yeah.
There's an attraction there. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when he would first say it, I just, kind of laugh it off. Oh, you're just being silly or what have you. But, I think as I have just healed, again from the inside out, and because one of my soul hurts is tied to, I think self-worth and self-love. Well, not one, more than one, but because that was two. But but just as I've healed in those, for instance, I can receive love or I can accept compliments. I can, take a compliment, and say, oh, thank you, or, God bless you, or whatever, and prior to, it was like I would almost want to repel it. I couldn't receive it. I guess in a sense, I couldn't hold that space for myself. Yeah,
Absolutely. I completely resonate with that. The
yeah,
worthiness and the self-love. I always share that on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the greatest self-love and 1 being the lowest, I
yeah.
was probably a minus 200, and I'm not joking. I'm being
Yeah.
generous.
Girl, I look at you sitting up there with beautiful confidence and
Like,
yeah,
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 honestly, and it's interesting because outside appearances can be deceiving.
yes,
You
yes.
know, so it makes me also realize too, especially in the arts, there can be jealousy, and I never had that. I was
Yeah.
so busy not loving myself, not feeling worthy that I didn't even want to be jealous of anyone. I just had my own
Right.
issues. Um, but when someone would propel jealousy towards me, I'm thinking, what are they jealous of? Like, I knew
Same.
it's internal, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I was fortunate. That was one of the things, of course, with the embodiment that really helped my worthiness and my self-love. But there's also a cute story along the way. I worked with many coaches and healers and shamans, and there was a coach along the way, and it was the first male coach I'd worked with. So we got the masculine, and
Yes.
he wanted to bring up again about the self-love. And I didn't like that. At that moment, I was like, no, no, we're not talking about that. And yet, usually, I'm quite agreeable. And so I was fortunate that I was sitting across from this coach who could just throw it back at me. Like as much as I could throw it at him and say, no, this is not, he'd throw it right back. And so it left me in a place where I walked away from that meeting that day where I was angry, like rage.
Mm.
Like, what is this? And this is so stupid. I don't have to do this. It's like ego, self-love. Like, sure, I love myself, that kind
Yeah, yeah,
of stuff.
yeah.
I got so angry about it that it flipped me to the other side of like compassion and breaking it all down,
Wow.
you know? But that was the beginning of the journey. It was the inside work, the embodiment, the nervous system, all of that was what really brought it all together.
Wow. Wow. Girl, there are just so many directions to go with this conversation. I tell you, it's powerful, but the bottom line is that it all starts with you, with us. Each individual, you know, embracing that fear and taking that journey, going on that journey. So, I mean, what would you say to someone who, might be kind of having all of these feelings or, things going on in them that we've kind of talked about today? How do they take the first step?
The first step is just owning it
Yes.
without
Owning it.
shame. No shame. That's the
Mm.
thing. That's what, you're talking about. You said
Yeah.
self-love, worthiness. I'm like, oh, I'm going to add in the bucket of shame. I carried a lot of
Yes.
shame as an
Same.
intuitive, as an empathic, as an other, because I was in the arts. I wasn't following the career that everyone else
Yes.
was.
Mm-hmm.
So I carried a lot of shame, like around not only was I not worthy, but I'm just not good. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm intuitive, I'm psychic, like that's just like, where am I coming from? What planet did I come from? So I
Mm.
didn't feel I fit in on this planet. And yet, I was raised in a family where there was healers and seers, so I was around it as a child, but I still knew it as something that we don't talk about. Keep
Mm.
closed doors. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
the world's different now, but I carried a lot of shame with that. And so I really think it's about, in this day and age, really reflecting and having that compassion and love for yourself to
Yeah.
own it and know that there are, like, as I'm sharing this now, I am not the only one. As you're sharing it, you're not the only one. This
Yes.
is quite common, and
Mm-hmm.
most people won't talk about it, but
Mm-hmm.
we are talking about it.
Right. Right. And I think, that's the bottom line and really the essence of this show, having the candid conversations, the very real conversations that are creating these soul tears and detachments and, whatever else that, happens on that spiritual plane, and so it's powerful when you think about it, you start processing your life and how so aptly my husband put this beautiful, I don't know if you can see this phoenix rising from the ashes
I love it.
back here, but it's very emblematic of just life, and how when it happens to you, or in some cases, I have a very dear friend who she spoke at one of our Empower Summits, and she was like, I just burned it all down, and but it's like sometimes either we consciously or subconsciously burn things down, right? And then it's like a rising from the ashes for the rebuild, for the newness. And in some people's case, now I'm not advocating you just, I don't want them saying DocV said go. But sometimes I think, you know, you have to burn things down, inside,
Mhm.
so that you can't, so that healing process, because that's one of the things when I'm in my Power to Soul Pivot, when I'm working with my folks on that, and we're walking through the stages, of just the soul pivot in general. What is that? What does it look like? We're addressing the hurts and the healing, and we're allowing our soul to speak its truth and to speak, and embrace our story. Sometimes, just making that decision to go on that journey is like burning down the old person, so that the phoenix can rise. And I tell you, it's a beautiful thing. And it may happen a couple of times in life, you know. Um, yeah, so I know I have honestly experienced it. I know at least three times.
Yeah, it's sort of leaning into dark night of the soul.
Yes. Ooh, talk about that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So when we talk about the burning down, and I mean, right away, for me, it's we go back to the masks that we wear.
Hmm.
So from a young age, we're socialized. We wear these masks so that we're liked, that we can be approved of.
Hmm.
We learn to survive by these behaviors.
Yes.
And yet we grow up and then we continue them. So it's like we're wearing, let's say we're 5 and we have our favorite little sweater,
Mhm.
but then when you're 25 or 30, that sweater's not going to fit.
Right.
But you're still trying to wear it. So
Right. Right.
that's where the disconnect is. And so I really feel that, yes, it is a case of releasing these layers, that it's
Mhm.
not who you are. So underneath all that is you and
Yes.
the truth of you. So there may have been, careers that you did just to survive, and
Uh-huh.
maybe others wanted it for you, or you felt that it was for you.
Mhm.
Friendships that you had, maybe you're tolerating things, certain behaviors.
Mhm.
And when you awaken to the truth of you, you realize, yeah, that doesn't work for me anymore, right? And
Yes.
instantly boundaries start forming where you
Mhm.
really go from the place within. And absolutely, dark night of the soul, for many, it happens where you come across this point in life where it's like everything just starts crumbling. And it
Right.
may not actually be on the outside, it's the inside where things don't feel like they matter anymore. Things that once excited you are not doing it for you anymore. And there's this questioning of like, who am I now without these things? And
Yes.
it's not for the faint of heart,
Mhm.
especially when one goes through it and if they don't even realize what's happening. And
Right.
of course, when we say dark night of the soul, is it one night? Not necessarily. It could be called dark months of the soul, dark year of the soul.
They dark years.
Right. And
Yeah.
often what I find in speaking to many clients, if they feel like they're in a place like that, there is this instinct to sort of hide and pull back. Yet
Yeah.
this is the perfect time to reach out and have support,
Hmm.
build, as you're saying, right?
Right. No, that's so good. That's so good. Our instinct, because of the way we've been socialized and programmed, is to pull back or to hide our voice or to keep quiet as opposed to reach out for help. Because maybe even in the past we have reached out for help and there was nobody there to grab our hands, you know? And so, there's that whole trauma of that as well. I mean, it's just so much to work through, Kathryn.
Oh, absolutely. Any of that from a young age, we learn, like if you think from 0 to 5, a lot
Yeah.
of coding or programming is set right in there. So
Yes.
imagine, a child who falls down, they're crying, and the parents are busy and they're distracted and they don't have much time to offer
Hmm.
compassion and love in that moment. Well, for that child, it may be that no matter what, no one is here for me. I'm all alone. No one's going to help me. So
Right.
this programming gets set and that goes on for life without even knowing because, a child then gets to be 10, 15, 20 years old. They've
Right.
forgotten that
Right.
until one day maybe they do remember that and go, ooh, connection, the thread through the life.
Yes. And for someone like myself, let me ask you this from my own personal advice. I have an uncanny ability to like most of my life, I don't recall, quite frankly. I don't, and I assume it's a protective mechanism. And I have the ability, I say all the time, I guess if you'd have to literally get a backhoe to pull up some things in me. But, since I've started just, this being more mindful, this mindful journey and embracing my story and sharing it and just the empowerment that comes from that, I started, in about 2016, just with on that journey, there's still things that are missing, parts that are missing. And some people, lovingly and maybe even jokingly say, oh, you just have too much up there, or, it's all that education or all this or that. What can you speak to that? I see you just say shaking your head over there.
All that education.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Exactly as in my own journey, when
Yeah.
I was saying something's not right, and it's like all in your mind, it's all in your mind.
Yeah.
Mhm. No. Then I met someone who said, you're right about this. It's not in your mind, it's in your body. So
Mm.
we protect ourselves.
Yes.
Things that happen, traumas, even little hurts, it's suppressed. And
Yeah.
I like to say the subconscious protects us lovingly, and that's its job. So it's like, I always imagine it. My visual of this is we have guard dogs that are guarding our subconscious. So
Mm.
even when we tap into it a little bit, maybe one day we're just having one of those days where we're feeling connected and we're a little bit going a little deeper, maybe after a yoga class, and we're touching in. It's almost like a fire. It's like, oh, don't go there. Don't, no, 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 no. And we just repress it and push it down more. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I do. I guide with this alignment, breath, and embodiment. I say that the guard dogs, when you feel very safe, regulated, the guard dogs go to sleep, they take a nap.
Mm.
That's when we can access. And we're not going in to pull anything. It'll just come up because the body has wisdom.
Yeah.
Whatever needs to come up at the right timing will come up to be processed.
Interesting. So is it that thought that comes into your conscious when you are kind of in that relaxed state, or that thing that comes into your mind that the body then starts to bring up or release?
Well, some of it could be releasing. Just you'll feel a body sensations, and
Okay.
it won't come up as a thought or anything. It's just
Uh,
releasing, and some of it you won't have to. It'll just naturally release. Some of it,
mhm.
it does come up as a thought, but it's more of a body wisdom. It's like a feeling in the body and a knowing. Uh,
Yes.
it could be something as I am worthy,
Mm.
and then there might be a memory attached, right?
Yes. Okay.
It's definitely from the body
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. And so there's no right or wrong way to experience this. It might take some people longer to get into that state.
Absolutely.
But when they do manage to kind of to enter in, then that's when, they just start having the feelings or the knowing that they're kind of in that space.
Mhm. Yeah, and when you're in a safe space and being guided by one who's holding that space for you with love, compassion, but firmness too, because
Mm.
holding that energy of that for you,
Mm.
to me, it's quite quick. Um,
Mm.
and yes, we're all individuals, so everyone in their own timing. There's no pushing, there's no rushing to pull anything out.
Yeah.
The body has its wisdom. It knows in which step. One can go into a session and have an intention of, I want to heal this in my life, that have something, and yet something else comes out of the session. Perhaps that is the step before the next one. And your
Mm.
body is just doing what it does in its own wisdom. But there's
Mm.
a trusting of the wisdom of the body, which who has that generally in this day and age?
Girl, look, I was about to say that is a string I want to pull as a last thought because I just don't even know where the 60 minutes is going for us. But trust, trust, so important, and something that we have difficulty with. I mean, even one thing, the slightest thing that can break our trust, it's like it's a setup.
Mhm.
And so, literally, you have to become consciously aware so that you can recover that, would you say? Where you can recover your trust and what?
Yeah, it's healing the
Yeah.
trust. Um,
Mm.
so right away, when we go back into our childhoods, let's think you've got an empathic, sensitive child,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe they know things and see things. You know how there's children in the world that see grandparents who are no longer on earth, and they
Yes.
talk to them, and then they tell mom and dad, and mom and dad go, "You're crazy."
Right.
What
Yeah.
it does to their trust of their ability, their intuition. It's like we can go into unworthiness and shame right there.
Yes.
So I feel for many of us, the betrayal from others, betrayal of self.
Yes.
So it's coming to that place inside and
Mm.
growing that trust, having
Yeah.
that wisdom shared with you of course, yes, of course I can trust myself.
Yeah.
It has to be from the inside. It can't be the mind saying I can trust myself. I could say that all day long.
Right.
It's like I could say, "Oh, I love myself" from my mind. But
Hmm.
if my body doesn't agree with that, it's not going anywhere.
Right. Right. So it's almost like you have to have that bodily out of body experience, if you will, before that actually initiates your ability to heal. Because when you think about the mind body soul connection, you know, if the body is out of whack, it affects the mind and the soul. I mean, they're all intertwined, right? But it seems like the body has and holds the most power to block or yeah, just to block or affect the other two more so. Because once you unlock the body, then your soul can flow freely and seems to be more in tuned, I guess you would say, and then the health of the mind and your ability to be more aware and more mindful just comes naturally.
Absolutely, 1,000,000%. We're 5% consciousness walking around the world using 5%.
Yeah.
95% is our subconscious. So wait a minute, we hook that up. Mind and body are connected, 100%. How
Yeah.
powerful is that to be walking in the world, living, breathing, living your
Yeah.
life at 100%?
Wow. Yeah. And so many of us are literally just operating on that 5% and or less.
And the 5% is pretty good. Places. We can get from point A to point B. We can sort things out, right? It's
Yeah.
pretty good, but we just don't even know. That's the thing. It's like, even for me in my journey, I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
If only someone had shared this with me, from my
Right.
younger age, I would have like, yes, sign me up for that. Let's
Yeah.
try that.
Totally. Right. I mean, she's talking about solving world problems, right?
Well, imagine the peacefulness and how
Mhm.
much love and compassion, one can have for themselves. The higher you have love and compassion for you, and that you're
Yeah.
connected to your truth,
Yes.
walk in the world with that compassion, that love. So
Yeah.
that's energy that would be going everywhere.
Yes. Yes. Wow. Wow. And then when you start doing the soul work, kind of like what I do with the soul pivot, once you address that piece, you're more receptive, to having, yeah, it's not such a heavy lift or burden or difficulties in facing those fears to make that pivot and step into your newness.
Yeah, I'd say it's actually, I mean, as much as what we're talking about sounds like, oh, it's so deep. And so it's
Hmm.
actually my own experience of it is it's more easeful than
Hmm.
one would think.
Yes.
It's much lighter than one thinks, and the layers that come off,
Yeah.
uh, it's incredible. The bliss, the joy that one captures. Think about, we go to a child, watch a young child who hasn't been too socialized, playing
Hmm.
and singing, and they can be in the middle of a store and they're singing their lungs out, they're jumping around
Right.
a little bit.
Right.
Well, it's coming back to that, you know,
Yes.
that inner joy. Walking
Yes.
around where you feel that freedom.
Yeah. So, ugh, yeah, yeah. Such a powerful and peaceful, blessed state to be in. I wish we could all get there. Girl, I could just talk to you for just hours and hours. Besides your presence being peaceful and it radiating over here across the airways. just your knowledge is profound, and just your how you operate with such truth and transparency, truly grateful for it. And I know those who are listening, watching, that they appreciate it as well. And what I would encourage them also is to just lean into, these different ways of healing, these different modalities. You don't have to understand everything, right? You don't have to be the expert in everything. No one could possibly be. But just taking that first step to feel your body free, I think could just literally change lives in probably a single session with you.
Absolutely. I do have that happen, although it's not a one and done, but
Ah,
it does change drastically.
yeah.
When someone comes out of their first session, that's my favorite. I mean, I go a long way to all the changes. I'm there for all of it, but
Mm.
first time when someone, even if it's as I've never felt so rested in my whole life, I feel like I've slept for like 20 days suddenly. I feel so alive.
Wow. Yeah, amazing, amazing. Girl, like I'm trying to pump these brakes, but this conversation has just been life for me. And as we've been talking, I've been, just personally having revelations and reconciling things, and this has just been life for me. So I just thank you again for coming and spending an hour with me of your precious time, and just for pouring into those who will listen to and watch and have this experience with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you too. This has been a lovely conversation and just fascinating just to bounce back and forth and just to share parts of our lives. I feel that's the important part too. I can talk about breath, nervous system, but with the real life examples, we're both
Mm.
sharing vulnerably,
Yeah.
openly. I mean, I don't, is it so vulnerably now? Like I love to talk about this. And
Yeah.
if it helps one, two, 25, 100,000 people,
Right.
because they go, oh, that sounds like me.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
just like me.
And that's everything. That's why I love to bring, extraordinary women who are on the front lines, extraordinary and ordinary at the same time, because I think sometimes when we can get wrapped up with celebrity,
Yeah,
and that celebrity becomes untouchable, or there's a chasm there, or that, you can disassociate again from going back to that conversation from reality and what's real and what's possible. And it's very possible. Um, yeah, very possible. So, audience, I want you to be sure to leave your thoughts, feelings, ahas, your perspective shifts, especially in the comments. Tell your friends about this interview, this conversation. It wasn't an interview. Go listen to the podcast for that. But this conversation, anyone who you think this conversation could be light and life for, because we're here to bring the light, love, and lift you into life. Reach out to Kathryn Malek on her social media channels, which are down in the show credit, the post. And yeah, Kathryn, any closing words or advice that you want to share?
yeah, I feel what's coming through right now. I love being just in the moment.
Yes.
What I'm being called to share, and I feel like tears coming up, is that it's possible. No matter where you're at, it can feel like you are so stuck and that nothing would help. But please believe and trust. It is completely possible to be liberated and free from whatever it is that is layered up.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes, absolutely. And Catherine and I are both living witnesses. So faithful, make sure you like this episode, subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Defining Paths Online on YouTube, and set those notifications for our weekly drops. I leave you with this: the truth will set you free. Your call to action: learn how to think without that box, unplug from the matrix and that sociocultural programming that's holding you back and snuffing out your soul. Conditioning had me on a mindless spiral with no hope of truly defining my own path, unable to heal and progress because of the mask that I was wearing and the state of denial that I lived in, hiding my truth. How did I break free? I had a candid conversation with myself. I apologized to my soul, then God, and finally chose me to pursue my soul's purpose. With faith as my foundation and conscious intuition as my guide, I decided to be the captain of my fate and the master of my soul. That's when I was able to pivot, to heal, rebuild, and pursue my humble, transformative greatness. So, my question to you: what is the candid conversation trying to erupt in your soul? Is it time to think without that box? Is it time to pivot? Is it time to define your own path? We're here for you to do just that with Defining Paths International through the One Project. We're just waiting for you to reach out so that we may help you build your success on a firm foundation, mind, body, soul, and business. So just reach out. We'll get you connected with phenomenal people like Kathryn Malek and her SOLignment and her embodiment work, her breath work. Once again, I'm DocV, the Pivot Maestro, and your corner woman. Please like, subscribe, and set those notifications to stay plugged in. And always remember to be true to you and define your path. We'll see you on the next episode. Thanks again so much, Kathryn.
Thank you. My pleasure.